guys, Alex here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's vlog, I will be walking you through the entire process and how to close rental deals. So whether you are a new agent or a potential renter, you will know what the general flow is. But before we begin, I have a small request. 80% of the viewers of this channel are not subscribers. I hope you can do me a huge favor and click the subscribe button. It helps this channel out more than you know, and the bigger the channel gets, the more people it will reach, the more people we can help with our real estate content. Now let's dive into the video. Rental deals are easier to close than sales because interested renters who are looking for a property to lease already need to move in within 30 to 60 days. So their need is immediate. Thus, as long as you're able to give your client the property that they need, you will be able to close this deal. There are 7 steps to closing a rental deal. First, contact, offer listings, property tour, negotiate, close, homeowners association screening, and lastly, move in. So let's begin with first contact. So this is the part when the buyer contacts the agent and inquires on a specific rental property. Probably they saw the post online or got referred to you by a friend. So during this stage, agents will typically ask the client what their preferences are in terms of size, location, budget, and urgency. When do they need to move in? How long do they want to lease? When it comes to house and lot units, homeowners prefer long-term renters, so they will want a contract of at least 1 year. So for interested renters who are looking to lease for less than a year or some maybe just a couple of weeks or months, then I would usually refer them to condominiums, since condo unit owners often cater to short-term renters. So generally, the ideal time to start looking for a rental property is a month before you want to move in. If you start looking too early, let's say 3 to 6 months prior, then chances are the house that you like will no longer be available by the time you're ready to close. I had a client who contacted me. Their OFW is based in the US and they wanted to move back to CDO. So they contacted me on June of 2022 but said that they would be moving in 2023. So I told her, let's talk again a month before you are ready to move. Because rental listings move fast, what's available now will probably be no longer available by the time that you're ready to close. Especially here in Uptown CDO where rentals are in high demand. The challenge with rentals is that there are very few rental properties available. Inventory is quite limited, and then once a house gets rented out, it usually stays rented for 3 to 5 years. Of course, there are renters that only stay less than 2 years, but most of our renters really stay long-term, especially if they like the house and they already like the subdivision. The next step is to offer listings. Once I know what their preferences are, then I offer listings that match their requirements. So I'll usually send the client photos and videos of the property, then they will choose what they would like to see, and then the next step is to schedule a viewing of their top listings. I usually send photos of the listing prior to booking a viewing so the renter can already check out the property and pre-screen them in advance. They will already know just by looking at the photos that I've initially sent whether this listing is close to or is a match to what they are looking for. This saves a lot of time and is more efficient. Now, one thing I ask the client is, when do you want to move in? Because how fast you can move in will depend on the policy of that subdivision. For example, Xavier Estates has the most lead time when it comes to move in because you will need to comply with their requirements and submit them to Xavier Estates Homeowners Association for screening and approval. Screening time usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks. So unless you know a board member who can personally endorse you, then it usually takes renters almost a month to get screened and approved by SayHi. So if you are in a hurry to move in, then you're better off considering other subdivisions in the area. What will I get for my money? The price point of rentals in Uptown CDO depends on the floor area and the address. So there are 44 square meter houses in Lisandra, Grand Europa that rent out at between 10,000 to 15,000 per month. For houses in Bellevue, which are between 40 to 50 square meters, you can find listings there at around 15 to 20,000 per month. In Pueblo de Oro and Xavier Estate subdivisions, which are the high-end subdivisions in the Uptown area, a 150 square meter property would be at 30,000 to 35,000 per month, whereas a 200 to 300 square meter property would rent out between 40,000 to 70,000 per month. Our bigger listings that are at 400 to 600 square meters would rent out at 80,000 to 120,000 per month. Next is property tour. So to schedule a property tour in exclusive subdivisions in the uptown area, you will need a broker because your broker will be the one to coordinate with the owner of the property and the homeowners association, so we will be able to go inside. Security in the subdivisions uptown, especially the high-end subdivisions, are very strict. You won't be able to go inside unless you know a homeowner of that particular subdivision, and then you will be able to come in as their guest. But for property tours, you will also need to coordinate with the homeowners association of that particular village. There are even some subdivisions that even require the broker to show a special power of attorney or an authorization letter from the seller to conduct site tours, such as Vista Verde, Hillsborough, and Pueblo Golf Estates. Golf Estates is one of the most high-end subdivisions in this area, even has a designated viewing schedule, which is between 9 to 11 a.m. and 2 to 4 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. If in case the renter is still out of the country or out of town and would like a representative, like maybe their relative or a friend, to view the property for them, then that can also be arranged. If you decide to go with the property, then you can proceed with reserving the house. Reservation fee is usually equivalent to 1 month's rent, which will count as the advance. This is non-refundable. If you are sure that you like the property and would like to go ahead with leasing it, then I recommend that you give a reservation fee so that you can lock it in. Once it's reserved, the owner can no longer offer it to other potential renters. The next step is negotiation. After the property tour, if the client is interested in one particular listing, they will make an offer and then negotiation starts. So the job of the broker is to coordinate between the renter and the homeowner until they reach an agreement, and then you can close. If you are a new agent, don't worry too much about rental negotiations. Compared to sales negotiations, rental listings are easy to close and they close fast because when renters contact an agent, they are already hot clients, meaning they will need to move in within 30 to 60 days. Some renters even need a new home within the week. When it comes to bargaining the rental price, if a property is say 60,000 per month, the renter will either accept it at that price or try to reduce it to maybe 55,000 per month, which is not too far from the owner's initial asking price. Since I only show renters listings that are at their price range, they will usually not haggle anymore on the price. Once the renter and the owner come to an agreement, the next step is to close. That being said, how smooth the deal will go will generally depend on the people involved in the transaction. So there are renters who have a long list of things that they want to request to the owner, while some renters are already okay with the property and are ready to go with contract signing. And then the next step is closing. So during closing, we will be asking for 2 valid IDs with 3 specimen signatures, as well as basic information for the contract, such as marital status, address, nationality, and start and end date of the rental contract. The owner will usually already have a lease contract on hand, ready for the tenant to review, but if there is none, then don't worry, we can recommend an attorney who can draft it for you. Once the draft of the lease contract is done, then I send it to both parties, the renter and the owner, for review. If the house is furnished, then the homeowner will provide a list of the items in the house that will be included in the lease. So this list is attached to the lease contract. Once both parties have approved the contract, I will prepare 5 copies of this contract and schedule a meeting for signing of the contract and payment. So during closing, I will be bringing hard copies of the following documents. First is lease contract, photocopy of the IDs of both the tenants and homeowners, and HOA documents to be filled out by the tenants. Acknowledgement receipt for the advance deposit and 11 months post-dated checks. The homeowner will need to prepare the keys to the house, as the property will be turned over to the tenant once the contract is signed and the payment has been made. On the tenant side, they will need to prepare the deposit and advance, which they can pay in cash or on-day check, as well as 11 post-dated checks for the rest of the payment. So the standard is 2 months deposit and 1 month advance. However, it can change depending on both parties' desired terms. So some homeowners may ask for 2 to 3 months advance and deposit. There are also tenants who pay for an entire year in advance. So it's really up to what both parties agree to. The advance and deposit is payable again in either cash or on-day check upon signing of the contract. A common question asked by tenants is, do I really need to submit post-dated checks? What if I don't have a checking account yet? It is common for some tenants, especially for tenants who came home from abroad, they usually don't have a checking account, but PDCs are usually required by the homeowner since it's more convenient for them and they don't have to remind the renter to pay every month. All they need to do is deposit the check. One time, one of our clients requested to do bank deposit monthly and the owner agreed. The first few months, it was okay, but eventually, rental payments started getting delayed every month. So it was a hassle for the owner to have to keep on following up on the renter for the payment. And as the broker, we also need to spend more time on the transaction since it's us who need to coordinate with the renter to make sure that they deposit the payment. So owners, it is really best to require post-dated checks unless you fully trust your renters and you know them personally. For renters naman who don't have a checking account, I can assist you with that. I can refer you to banks here that can help out with that. And then the next step is Homeowners Association Screening. So once the deal is closed, the next step is to submit tenants' requirements to the subdivision's HOA. The requirements will differ depending on which subdivision you want to move into. For instance, requirements of Xavier Estates Homeowners Association are accomplished CHA form, so you can get these from CHA office, or I also have a soft copy which I can just email to you. And then, so under that are letter of intent to lease, information sheet, move-in clearance, notarized affidavit of undertaking, and then other requirements are NBI clearance, MTC and RTC clearance, ITR. I don't know, frankly, why they ask for ITR since you're not gonna get a loan but move into a subdivision, but it's part of the requirements. And then 2 valid IDs with 3 specimen signature and endorsement from 2 Xavier Estates homeowners. And they also have a processing fee of 500 pesos. So if you're an OFW based abroad, you will really need to fly home to get these requirements yourself since NBA clearance needs to be requested for in person. You cannot get another person to do it for you. As for the MTC and RTC clearance, you will need police clearance to get this document. And like the NBA clearance, this needs to be requested for in person. So the challenge here for OFWs is that you cannot apply for screening in advance. So you will really need to comply with the requirements and go through the 1-month screening upon arrival to Cagayan de Oro. So you will need a temporary place to stay while waiting for approval, or you can choose among the other subdivisions in the area which have faster screening process. For the Courtyard subdivision, it's also a subdivision located uptown at the back of SM. They have less requirements, so they just require NBA clearance, lease contract, 2 valid IDs, updated monthly dues of the property, and 150 screening fee. Now, also for Philam Life Village, the requirements are filled up HOA forms, move-in clearance, information sheet, 2 valid IDs, 2,000 peso move-in fee, lease contract, and NBA clearance for Filipino lessee, or passport for foreigners. Now, for Pueblo de Oro Golf Estates, the requirements are filled up HOA forms, 2 valid IDs, endorsement letter from 1 Golf Estates homeowner, and a move-in fee of 4,000. So the main difference between other subdivisions and Xavier Estates is the lead time for approval. For other subdivisions, as long as you submit the requirements, then you can move in. But for SayHi, upon submission of the requirements, it still needs to be reviewed by the board, and this takes 3 to 4 weeks. So unless you know one of the board members of SayHi, and this person can speed up the endorsing process and personally endorse you, then you will just really have to wait 3 to 4 weeks to get approved. Some subdivisions have additional fees such as move-in fee or screening fee. It will differ from subdivision to subdivision depending on the policy of their homeowners association. And the last step is move in. So once the screening process has been completed, HOA will sign your clearance to move in and give a copy to the guard. This is when you can also buy a sticker for your car so that you can freely go in and out of the subdivision at any time. Sticker cost ranges from 200 to 500 per sticker depending on the subdivision. If the subdivision has several gates, just like Xavier Estates, they usually have a main gate and 3 other gates. So the other gates are only open until 10 p.m. So if you will be coming inside XE past 10 p.m., then you will have to go through the main gate because the other gates will be closed after 10. Once you have your sticker, it's done. You can now move into your new home. Congratulations. And that's it for today's vlog. If you have additional questions about the process or have a specific subdivision you would like to move into, then feel free to contact me. My contact info is in the description box. And if you want to be updated of the latest real estate how-tos and pre-selling condos investments, send me an email so I can add you to my mailing list.